your boundaries are auctioned off by the person you trust to different companies. It's like, yeah, she said she wouldn't do this thing, but how much? There is this subtle manipulation by someone who you are compensating to advocate for you. What happens in porn, in my experience, that your agent, and then the time that I was in the industry, I saw this happen to many predominantly women. Your boundaries are auctioned off by the person you trust to different companies. It's like, yeah, she said she wouldn't do this thing, but how much? Because we treat sex as transactional, as people as products, so we should be able to buy what we want. And I think that's something that happened over and over and over and over again.
There were a lot of experiences that I had where I would get a booking from my manager, and I would show up, and midway through the scene, I would realize that what I was booked for, what I had been told that I would be doing and performing, was not what the scene was going to call for. And there were certain boundaries that I had put up when I had signed my contract, saying, okay, I'm not going to do this for this amount of time, or I'm not going to do this at all. And quickly those boundaries were just looked at as like, well, you're being ridiculous, or you don't want to be looked at as being difficult to work with. When it wasn't like an attitude thing, it was like, hey, these are the things that I like don't feel safe in, I don't feel comfortable in. These are my lines. And while they were agreed to when I was signing my contract, and they weren't things that I was willing to lose my financial stability over when I was raising a child. I was already dependent on this income at this point. I had already given in to just allowing the community around me to know that this is who I was, and I couldn't lose that at that point because I had no other option. But for me, there was just a lot of like, well, they're not going to book you again, so get back in there and smile, and just a lot of deceit in that as well, in the not being upfront with what was going to be expected. And I remember scenes that I left crying because those were things that I told myself I was never going to do, or that I just wasn't ready for. And yet, like, you have to do what you have to do in that moment to be able to continue to pay your bills and be able to know that there is going to be rent next month.